South China Sea. Kadira Pethiyagoda is a non-resident fellow in Asia Middle East relations at the Brookings Doha Center. He joins us from London. We appreciate your time very much. So this guest list of these 10 nations, how would you characterize that list?
Yes, I think it's a very strategically important guest list. As you mentioned, India has an Act East policy where it's trying to focus building ties with Southeast Asian countries. And I think that Indian policymakers have a very long-term perspective, and they see Southeast Asia as part of India's future sphere of influence. And they often highlight that Indian religions like Hinduism and Buddhism have actually influenced the cultures of Southeast Asia.
Does India see China as competition or a threat?
India certainly does, and this is, I guess, part of its way in dealing with the threat it sees from China. So India tries to exclude external great powers from its own region, which is South Asia, and China's been building ties with countries all around India's borders. So by building its own ties with Southeast Asian countries, India sees this as a way to counter China. If you go back last year, you see that the two countries also had a territorial standoff. So there's a number of factors of tension in that relationship. And I guess this is just another way of India pushing back against China.
So how does China view India?
Well, China views India in a slightly different way. It sees India more as a conditional threat, where India is only problematic to China to the degree that India aligns with the US and Japan and some of China's other rivals in an attempt to isolate China. It also sees India as problematic in terms of India building ties with countries like Vietnam, standing with the Southeast Asian countries in the standoff over the South China Sea, and issues like that. But it doesn't see India as a threat to the degree that India sees China.
Is there a way that these two countries can still benefit each other, that each could get something useful out of the other?
Yes, I mean, they have an enormous trading relationship. They have a history of peaceful coexistence of going back millennia in terms of cultural exchange. They both also have similar interests as rising developing countries that both seek a more multipolar world order. I guess where the tension is that India sees China's increasing dominance in Asia as an unknown quantity. And there's also political imperatives in both countries to be seen as tough against the other. So in that sense, it would require some, I guess, strategic diplomacy and long-term thinking in order to overcome these obstacles.
Kadira Pethiyagoda, thank you very much for joining us from London. Judges